We can talk about that.
We could talk about, honestly, we could just talk about neighborhoods too. That was another one we went over with Steve that we couldn't put out because it didn't get recorded.
Randy knows all about all the neighborhoods in Indy. I think you did that like 6 or 7 times on the Indy Investor Pod.
Yeah, that was a recurring episode.
Yeah, was that like the, oh shit, we can't think of what to talk about? So,
That was always, hey, neighborhood episode.
was it?
East side, west. Well, because everyone always had questions about it. But
So why don't, let's actually do that. Let's talk a little bit about kind of
What you're seeing,
some quadrants or something, or do we want to cover the entire city, or do we want to just like hit a couple of specific neighborhoods and some of the things we're seeing there?
probably just some, like pick a side.
Okay.
Pick a couple sides.
Yeah. Maybe
East,
like
west, north, south. I don't care.
Yeah, and then kind of what we see, what we think can be successful in those particular areas.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, this could also be something wherever it goes too. We just start talking.
Yeah. So do you guys want to potentially focus here on like downtown north kind of thing? Or how do you guys want to split it? Because there's obviously, we can go outside the loop as well, which complicates things from a...
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, to be honest with you. What have you heard the most, since you've had some live calls recently, what questions have you been getting on your...
I've been bad, man. I have not been putting myself out there all that much. I'm so fucking busy. By the way, Randy, can you turn your mic so it's pointing towards your mouth a little bit? There you go. You might need to tighten it. It will just get better audio from it. It's one of those directionals. Are you breaking? No, it's the higher.
I tightened that one.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Higher.
Oh no, you're right. I think you're right.
It's
Yeah,
twisting
it's
right there.
Shit worked perfectly until Randy gets here.
You made me move one thing.
So what did you get on the last? I mean, I know you had office hours last week or 2 weeks ago, but that was more. No, you had construction stuff that day, I think.
See, it's not me.
It's so stiff that way, but not that way.
I know.
It's the nut inside of it. Yeah, I just keep relying.
I'm not gonna touch it.
Yeah.
That's good. It's pointed towards me.
So yeah, I mean, everybody wants to do flips. Everybody wants to do burrs. It does feel like burrs are on the the downside right now, just because of interest rates, and everybody wants their cash flow. Which good fucking luck in today's market. Like it's not really in the cards if you're going to highly lever the sucker. So that it feels like fewer people are talking about that. A lot of people are talking about the midterm, short term. So we could potentially talk about like if we hit up, hey, like this is what we're seeing. This is generally, if you're gonna look for cash flow, like you're gonna have to midterm, short term rent in the market. If you're gonna highly lever, these are the areas that it kind of makes sense. But yeah, that tends to be what people are looking for, either flips or the short-term, midterm type stuff. But the problem is with all the short-term, midterm people, they want to still do it in the $120,000 properties. And it's like, motherfucker, it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I fucking crush on my short-term rentals right now. And my midterms do fine, but my short-terms are fucking on fire. Mm-hmm. But that's because they're $350,000 properties that are pulling in $5,000 a month.
And it's summertime.
It's summer. Well, actually, we're averaging $5,000 for the year.
Oh, you are?
Per month for the year. Dude, we just got a $7,000 2-day booking for Taylor Swift. Fucking love you, Taylor.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, you can't do it on the low end stuff.
Yeah, not that.
Like,
I mean, this could be something right here. We could just like literally just start talking about this and then go from.
Fucking hit record.
I mean, we've been recording.
Oh,
so welcome to yeah. Oh, we don't need to do the clap because it's all together. It all just shit just works.
This makes it so much easier.
But yeah, welcome to another episode of the Indy Investor Speakeasy. We've been talking here for a minute trying to figure out exactly what direction we're going to go with this sucker. But yeah, this is the first episode here in the Water Bowl from Off Leash Construction. It's a pretty cool little speakeasy. Anybody watching should reach out, and we might just let you in and have a drink or two here. But
careful what you say.
Yeah, I said might just let you in for a drink. But we will be doing open houses and stuff here. It's a pretty cool spot to do recordings. I've obviously done some office hours here, but it's coming together. The space is coming together. Not quite done.
It's come a long way.
Yeah.
From when I last saw it. It looks awesome.
I don't think it had flooring last time you guys were in here.
No, it just had, last time I saw it, just had the black painted walls, no flooring, no bar.
Yeah.
And it's
the
cool.
Bar still needs some work, but at least the bourbon made it.
The
safe.
bourbon made it. That's all that matters.
So yeah.
We could pan.
Yeah.
Maybe at the end. Maybe we'll do a little cutout.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah. We just do a little video walk around, but yeah, Brooks, what direction were you thinking we'd go here for the day?
I think we were talking a little bit about short-term, mid-term stuff, and I feel like I've been hearing that more than anything recently. And just what you were talking about, your short-terms are on fire. I don't know if everybody knows, where are some of your short-terms at that are on fire, and what do you think is driving that right now over the midterm market?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I hear a lot of people do really well in the midterm rental. So this isn't like me saying anything negative about the midterm side. What I'm tending to find, though, is my rates are getting pushed down a little bit. It feels like that's becoming a little bit more of a competitive space. And so my rates have actually gone down a little bit. Those two midterms are in Fishers. I own 4 short-term rentals currently, hopefully 5 here in the next couple of weeks once we finish up another project. But we've got one up in Noblesville, one down in Bates Hendricks, and 2 down in Brown County. So they're all very different, and what makes them successful is very, very different. But what I want everybody to hear, and I think it's a really important thing to talk about, is the same houses that were cash flowing, 1% type deals, 0.8% rent to value ratio type deals that everybody has been working with for the last 15 years, 20 years, or whatever it is. Those just don't work in the short-term side, at least from what I've seen. And we can talk a little bit about why that happened. But for anybody who's familiar, Noblesville is, there are some lower end parts of Noblesville, but I would generally say that is an A-class neighborhood for the most part. Yeah,
and I think even in the bad parts, if there is really any truly, you can still do pretty well there.
Yeah. There's some distressed homes. There's no crime. Like there's some homes that are a little bit tired.
So that sounds like potential to me.
Yeah, totally. So Noblesville, one of them is right by downtown. It's near Ruoff Center, which for anybody who's not familiar is a really cool music venue here in the Hamilton County area. And so those do very, very well right there. We get a lot of people coming in there. We actually have a lot of hospitals. So I've had many of our guests have been repeat guests because they're actually visiting the hospital. One of them, she reaches out every time she's got a chemo treatment, and she's just like, "Hey, can I stay?" And we now book her off the platform.
From Indiana, or does she just live far away?
She lives further away, and so she's from Indiana, but she's coming into Noblesville for treatment. So I'm near the hospital for that small treatment. Getting down to my Bates Hendricks property. That one's absolutely on fire right now. I think we only have 13 days currently booked for next month, but we already have like $4 or $5 grand on the books. And so we'll fill in the rest and do pretty well. That's right near basically everything in downtown. You've got, Pacers, you've got the Lucas Oil, you've got, just everything downtown related is
the race that happened.
The race. Oh my God.
Jeez,
I forgot about that.
The eclipse.
The eclipse. Oh my God. So, although, basically all of Indiana was good for that. Yeah. But again, that's another high-end property. There are obviously some lower-end properties in Bates Hendricks that are on the up and up. But, this is a $350,000 property that's doing quite well and generating about $5,000 a month. And then I've got the 2 down in Brown County. For anybody who's not familiar, that is kind of like a vacation spot for the most part for people here in Indiana. It's kind of the easy getaway location.
The mountain woods area.
Yeah, it's very woodsy. I mean, you've
I shouldn't say
obviously.
mountain.
Shouldn't say
Yeah.
mountains.
Yeah. Hills.
The woods makes it feel
They're Indiana mountains.
Yeah. I think I own the highest point in all of Indiana with the wilds. It's like it's pretty high, but it's a getaway spot and it's a vacation spot. Again, that's another $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 property that's out there. So this kind of stuff that was working before, the $120,000, the $150,000, $200,000 properties that were very good cash flowing properties on the long term rental side, those just don't translate because people want to go and they want to have their escapism. They want to get away. They want to live short term in a place that's nicer than their own house, more aesthetically pleasing, better laid out, better, basically done to the nines a little bit. And people are willing to complain and bury you for the smallest things. I can give some examples of that here in a bit, but so you got to have incredible customer service and a great product. And then, you can still do better than the 1% deal. Now you're going to pay for property management and all that stuff to get that done appropriately. But yeah, I've just seen such incredible returns here recently. When everybody else is talking about this whole Airbnb bust, I'm not seeing that at all.
Dude, I've been hearing that for a few years.
Yeah, I know. And I think it's because everybody and their mom over COVID, nobody wanted to stay in a hotel. They wanted to spread out a little bit more. And
well, do you think that had something to do with people, like you said earlier, trying to make anything into an Airbnb? I mean, that will bust. And because, like you said, there's properties that just aren't cut out for it. The neighborhood's not cut out for it.
Yeah.
The property, just the condition of the house, like it's just not, it doesn't feel like you're staying in a hotel or in a place that someone's kind of serving you. It just kind of feels like you're staying in just another rental, but you're paying a premium for that, which doesn't make any sense. And that in return won't get you bookings.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a lot of people also don't understand is if you're not at a 4.85, 4.9 stars, you're failing. Like that is a failing Airbnb.
Yeah.
And so you need to bend over backwards to go get those 5 stars.
For somebody who doesn't do Airbnbs really, is if you get down to that lower star, I mean, I say lower star, but like 4.8, 4.85, does that start to not show your listing?
Push you down?
Yes, 100%.
Like when they're just scrolling the map?
Yeah, absolutely. You won't get seen as much. I'm by no means like an SEO expert when it comes to Airbnb.
Yeah.
I think I follow best practices and have been successful because of that. But yeah, you definitely get seen less. You'll get booked less. Your nightly rates are going to have to be lower in order to get people's attention because there is competition out there. There are people like me who are competing on a daily basis to try and win those spots. Who are going to go above and beyond from a customer service perspective. When something goes wrong, like we have a lot of automated messages that go out to people. We have this house, the Bates Hendricks house, that for whatever reason, it's about once every 2 weeks. We tell people, hey, just don't mess with the bottom handle lock. Like it's not automated. Please just don't touch it. Please leave it alone. But once every 2 weeks, somebody locks themselves out. Like I don't understand why people mess with it. They lock themselves out. And every time that happens, I give them $30 and just say, go buy drinks on me. I'll have my guy out there in a little bit to get this fixed. Because I'm going, despite the fact that they have screwed up, despite the fact that I'm going to have to pay for somebody to go out there, I need
You don't want it to ruin their experience.
Exactly.
You inconvenience them.
Exactly.
Even though you let them know 100 times probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
like a bug lamp.
So you offering them drinks makes up for that. They totally forget about the situation.
Yep.
They leave happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We had somebody who, we never, in our Noblesville house, we never said it had a couch. There's no photos of a couch. There's no
Where's the couch?
Yeah, it's a small living room, but it can host up to 10 people.
Yeah.
And so we think it's a really good value from that perspective. This woman just was freaking livid. She's like, this gets not a 5-star experience because it does not have a couch.
She said that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, man.
In a message, and she's like, and the washcloths were a different color than the
photo?
No, than the towels.
Oh.
And so I went and I gave her $50 off and said, hey, this will be corrected. I promise. And I was out there assembling a love seat yesterday. And she's coming back, and I'm sure she's going to find something else to complain about. But I got the 5-star review because I gave her the $50 off.
And she's coming back.
She's coming back. I don't know if I want her back, but
Yeah, that's one of those. Do we fire the client?
yeah. But
Give her one more chance.
You got your 5-star review, Nick.
yeah, I got the 5-star review. That's all that matters. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question. Just I don't know if we brought this up on here. I think we did. So your Bates Hendricks house was it first started as a flip.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember us talking for I think you had it on the market for 2 months there.
Yeah, 2 or 3 months. Yeah.
And nothing. And we went and looked, and me and you and Randy were like,
Doesn't make sense.
there's nothing has sold in Bates Hendricks in 2 or 3 months. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Have you looked recently? Because
I haven't even looked. Now I've got it financed.
You're just like, it's behind me.
I'm curious now.
Yeah, I 100% bird the sucker.
Can you go over the numbers? Because
oh boy,
so people are probably wondering how you can burr short-term stuff, and I think that's good to let's talk about.
I think that's a fantastic call out. I'm going to go directional data here because I don't remember all the exact numbers. But bought this one from a wholesaler. We went and walked it. It was a weird layout when we got there, but it was down to the studs, so it was a really good opportunity. Most people would have seen this house and been like, "Oh crap!" I'm scared away because of the number. I believe the wholesaler was asking for 165 or 170 on it. We walked in there and Paul, did his thing. Walked around. Paul's my head of construction, and said that he thought he could do it for about 100, 120. Now he started with 100. I knew it was going to be 120 when he was done with it. So I went in there and I told the wholesaler 140 and I can get this thing done. And that one I actually am confident of the number. And so went in there, did it, got it for 140 because it had been sitting there for a while and because it was a scary looking property down to the studs. And Paul went in there. Took about 3 months. It was a big project, maybe 4 months to get done.
The house was beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's freaking beautiful. And maybe we'll in the show notes or something put a link to the Airbnb so people can see it because it does look nice. It looks great now. It's 1410 South Alabama. If anybody wants to look it up, I don't know if the photos from when we were on the market are still up there, but yeah, we turned it into a nice 2.5 with a master on the main kind of thing. Really cool. Downstairs is awesome with an entertaining area. And so when it was all said and done, Paul went bougie on it, and it was about 120 when it was all said and done.
He just had to meet your expectations of going over.
Yeah, he did. And so
I do have to say, if you go look at that on either Off Lease's Instagram or on their page, it's one of my favorite ones they've done.
Oh, it's amazing. But just wait, because we've got another one coming here. I've got another Airbnb that we're going to hit the market here, hopefully in a month or two. On 76th Place, so again, kind of in an A-class area, north side of Indy, not too far from the Keystone Crossing area. I think he's gonna really flex. He's not letting me see it while he's working on it. He's wants to do a big unveiling. So
that's a nice area, man.
Oh yeah. But yeah, to finish up the numbers there on the Alabama property, we bought it for 140. We were all into it for about 120. There were some financing costs and stuff on there because I didn't do it cash. So, I think we were all in for, let's call it 265, 270, and it appraised at 345.
I don't think I realized that.
Yeah, it appraised. And, so yeah, we were thrilled. We got either an 80 or 75% loan to value. I can't remember the exact details on the loan. Yeah. And, what's funny is our loan officer was like, all right, so what would it rent for? And I was like, like 2,500, something like that. But I'm like, I'm going to put it on Airbnb. So they went and pulled AirDNA data to pull it, and they were estimating $3,000 a month is what we would pull. And so he gave me the loan. He was thinking it was going to be about a 1% deal. About a month and a half ago, I sent him a note. I'm like, showed him all of my receipts of what we had got done, and that we were averaging about $5,000 a month. I was like, all right, so I was right, you were wrong. Next time, trust my numbers. Trust me more than AirDNA. I overperform. So yeah.
What you were listing it for less than that it appraised for, I feel like.
So I dropped it down to 325 at one point, and literally
that's why we were all so confused.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense.
Yeah. So all right, legitimately there are some negatives to the house.
You said the layout was a little funky.
It used to be funky. It's better now.
Yeah.
It's definitely better now. The fact that there's no parking is a little funky. There's no off-street parking. It's only on-street parking. For a $350,000 house, I get it.
Yeah.
But for an Airbnb, nobody cares.
Yeah.
So it's actually perfect from that perspective. But what I want everybody to hear and see there is, you build that. Assume that you can do something similar from a build out perspective. You fix it up. It's great. It's worth $300,000, $350,000, $400,000. You can overperform that 1% rule that everybody has been talking about for years. Now you're going to pay more in cleaning fees. Now you're going to pay more in property management. But that's like a what? Like a 1.5% like something in that ballpark. 1.5%. Yeah. Like, all right, wipe away 0.5% there in all the extra fees and stuff that you're going to have. That's fantastic. And you potentially have a really cool spot to go stay whenever you come to town, or when you have your family come to town. The reason we just bought that 76th place is so that we can put them right there. It's a nice little, exactly 15 minutes door-to-door drive. It's going to be perfect.
So when, what was the question I had? With the 120 all the way in, does that include furnishing it? How much did it cost to furnish this?
No, that's a fantastic question. Furnishing is way more expensive than you think it should be. And
I think it's expensive.
yeah. So I think we spent in the ballpark of $10,000 to $12,000, which, about
It's not terrible.
It's not terrible. But then I probably spent another $1,500 in handyman services to get it all set up. It is so much more work than you think it is to get one of those places set up. And it's dumb stuff. It's just like, where do we put this? Opening all the scissors and the cutting boards and getting rid of all the trash, hanging the security system, getting the internet all set up, all the same stuff that you do when you move, you have to do. But everything isn't just in boxes. It's in like packaging, which is a pain in the ass to get open. So
it's in pieces.
So it probably took us about 3 weeks actually from the moment we were done.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That we made the decision that we were going to do it to the moment that we were ready to go.
You have all your Airbnbs themed out?
No,
or
that would be way cooler. No, I'm not that interesting. I'm not that good a designer. Like I just try and make it look nice.
Yeah,
and that's the extent of what we do. And then one of the other things we do, kind of next steps, is I actually hired somebody on Fiverr, and I think it cost us like $40 or $50 to go through and do all of our copy editing and stuff, and just making that really, really nice, appealing, have all the keywords, doing all the things that's going to keep people on your page. Because the longer somebody is on your page, the more likely that Airbnb is to recommend you to the next person. They have what's called an interest algorithm. So if people are like spending their time on your page, that's like a plus for you. It's not like necessarily SEO where you got to put all the keywords because nobody's searching on Airbnb for something. They're looking for a location, not a theme, for instance. They're not typing in Star Wars, Indiana or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's all about interest. So if they're clicking through your photos, if the photos look good, then you're golden. If they're spending time reading your thing, you're golden. The other thing that you're going to need to spend money on, unless you're a skilled photographer yourself and video editor photo editor, is on really, really good photos. I've got my nice camera that I went in there and did it, and then I had my team edit them up, and then I actually had somebody on Fiverr go in there and tell me the order in which they should all be, because there are people who this is what they specialize in, and so all in, photos, getting everything put together, furnishing. And then my own labor, we're probably talking about $13,000 to $15,000 to get that thing up and running from the moment that you're done.
Yeah. So full burr on that one. Were you able to burr out or come close to burring out the other ones? I mean, this is something that I feel like I haven't heard a ton of people talk about. I mean, we always talked about burring out just regular long-term rentals, but burring out short-term stuff is kind of
it's a burn B.
Yeah, burn B, yeah.
Yeah, so the other ones are a little bit different, just as setups. So they haven't necessarily been something that I've been attempting to burr. Where people might run into a little bit of a challenge, and you should be prepared for it on the front end and be having the conversations early and often, is around lending and how they are going to actually underwrite that DSCR if that's what you're going to be using. Huge, because you won't have historical data. So how are they actually going to underwrite that? A lot of banks want a year's worth of Airbnb, 2 years worth of Airbnb data to count it for the DSCR. If that's the case, you're SOL, because that's one heck of a long burr. So you want to make sure that your lender is prepared for that and ready to take care of you there. I do have several of our clients we've done work with actually up here in Hamilton County, and they've been wildly successful on the burn B, as we've just coined. And where they've been successful, again, there's one in Noblesville that's actually like 2 blocks from mine that the two of them kind of compete for a similar type of guest, but they've both been doing very well. And then several around Grand Park are doing very, very well for several of my clients.
Yeah, and back on the lending side, that's probably where you need to start on these, just to make sure you're analyzing them properly. And if they
part of your due diligence, right?
Should be. And if they do want a historical 1-year rent roll or anything like that, call some other lenders. You'll probably find somebody who's going to use something else, like for
Different
example,
product.
Nick's lender was using AirDNA on something, and then another lender might use Data Rabu or whoever.
Yeah.
So that's a great place to start, just so you can actually analyze these deals.
Yeah, you're going to want to be in the smaller institutions, either like a credit union or something like that, just because those are the ones who are able to get a little bit more creative with their underwriting, which is exactly what you need in this situation. Because so many places out there have a seasoning period. Hell, I think traditional financing is now a year seasoning period required, and so. There are a million reasons why kind of going small, going local, and getting those more distinct products makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, some lenders won't actually let you do like the fully finance it back out. They'll say, all right, you at least need 20% in this. They're looking at it as a commercial property.
Oh, wow.
So it doesn't matter what you do, no matter what the numbers look like, you're not going to be able to burr it because they're just going to require you to have 20% into it. So again, another thing, once you start realizing what you're looking for and figure out what the lender is able to do, then you can kind of pick and choose where your lenders are, or if you need to start looking elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm curious from your guys' perspective. I've been doing a lot of the talking. If you guys were picking up Airbnbs here locally within the Indiana market, like I'm counting Brown County, counting up to Kokomo, that kind of general vicinity, where would you guys be picking up Airbnbs if that was something you were interested in today?
Yeah, for me, man, I know a lot of people kind of gravitate towards downtown. I probably wouldn't.
I agree.
Just because of just the saturation of it, and people like I want to go for places people aren't probably looking. So, I like areas, which not really, it's not a hidden gem anymore, but areas in Hamilton County and around Grant Park. But I would even go even north of that. I would go to out where I live around Cicero. I would even go up to Fort Wayne.
Oh,
I know it's a little further than what we're talking, but
that counts.
Fort Wayne's like it's coming up, man, and I think it's the next best place to invest in Indiana. But there's a lot to do there. A lot of people visit for various reasons. There's a lot of hospitals there, as you mentioned. So I'd look there. I would look south towards where you're at in Brown County. But my whole thing is I don't want to be in a too big of a city. I kind of want to be like in a little niche.
Yeah.
And just kind of market towards that. And I probably would theme out my places.
Yeah. You'd have a little more fun with it.
I would have a little bit more fun with it. Kind of make it feel more of like a vacation spot rather than just a place to go to sleep and hang out. So.
Yeah, and I know Randy's wife would have a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah. So would yours.
I know.
Until they had to put all this stuff together.
Once they get,
true.
Yeah.
They would
Well,
should put me to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, realistically, probably Paul.
Yeah.
Paul's team.
Yeah.
You and Paul's team.
Yeah. How about you? Any other locations you'd be thinking about?
I'm the same. We all live on the north side, so I would probably invest on that side. Obviously, Carmel doesn't really allow.
There are exceptions, but
There
for the
are
most part,
exceptions, but you have to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously Noblesville. Just talking here, like the bad part of Noblesville. It sounds like an opportunity because it's eventually going to get turned around, and not that it's a bad part now. It's just me and him have talked about Cicero. We've talked about little small towns a little bit north
Arcadia.
of there. Arcadia, Sheridan, Whitestown, if you can find anything there. Westfield. So, just the north side in general is kind of what, if me and him were to keep one, that's where we would want to keep it.
Gotcha.
For sure. Just because, if we lived on the south side, it might be different. But,
Well,
just know
it's high touch. So you're either going to have a property manager that's going to be dealing with it for you, or you're going to deal with the problem. Hell, this
Do I want to
winter-
live an hour away from my problem?
Yeah, no, it's terrible. Early on when I didn't necessarily have somebody to go out there and open the door for somebody when they locked themselves out, that was me. That was driving on a Friday night after maybe one too many bourbons that I'm like, gosh,
After
darn.
this episode?
Yeah, no. Thankfully my cleaners now have keys to that, so they can just get in there for me and handle it. But it's either going to be you guys doing it or your property manager. So yeah, given that, like do it near you, do it in the high end areas, guys. Like that's the one thing I really want everybody to hear is everybody that I know that is selling off their Airbnbs are the ones who did a crappy rehab and didn't actually do the right stuff. Like you want to treat it like it's a house that your wife, your husband is going to be, your kids are going to be living in. Do it upright, do it super nice. And it's the people who, we're investing in Bean Creek and trying to Airbnb there. It's the people who were investing in some of the seedier parts of Irvington, in the Near East Side or something. Not that there's anything wrong with those areas,
Not Airbnb.
but it's not what's going to drive traffic. It's not the kind of place that somebody drives up to your front door and it's like, my God, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're looking for.
I mean, think about the last time you went to an Airbnb and like you drive up and you're like, man, this is sweet. Like that's what I would want.
Yeah, exactly.
What I mean? So
like even like you're in a bad area, you don't want to drive up to it. Like the house may be cool, but like the neighbor's house may be really sketchy, and you're just like, where did I book this?
we've all probably done that too. We're like, man, this looked sweet online, but I just didn't realize the area around it was.
Yeah.
And it could be done well.
Happened to me in Nashville, Tennessee,
Really?
Indiana. Yeah, I was like, sweet house, but it was like on a dead end street, and it felt really weird at night.
I've been to those.
Yeah.
My wife and I have booked the cheap one way too many times.
Yeah, but it was Nashville, so you're just like, how bad can it be, right?
Yeah.
So I think one of the big things that everyone complains about right now on the consumer side are all the fees and stuff on Airbnb. Can you explain a little bit more about that and how that works?
Yeah. I have very little visibility into a lot of that stuff, and people are like, well, you said it was going to be $100. I'm like, I put $100. Like, I'm going to make $100 on this one. Like, I have no control over what Airbnb charges from a fees perspective. They have like surge pricing. Like a lot of things go into their pricing that they actually will, that they'll actually get their cut of it. Now, I think
you don't see that.
I see it once they book it, but I don't have control over it. So I can see what the guest has paid. And
No, but I mean, like, you don't like see the profit from it. Like you don't like if they're charging extra for a certain season, you get your normal.
I tell them on a daily basis what I'm willing to rent the place out for, and then they are like,
and then they can charge whatever fees for them.
Yes.
Okay.
So they keep the cleaning fee and everything?
No, so you set what your base price is, you set what your cleaning fee is. If you have any other fees that are specific to you, then you set those on the front end. Like, hey, if there's extra people fees, if anything like that, and then so that all gets kind of rolled up into your pricing that you roll up to Airbnb. Airbnb then says, great, I'm going to mark this up 5%. I'm going to mark this up 30%. You have no control over that. It does tend to be, from what I see, in the 10% range for the most part, at least on my stuff. But I've actually seen where they have discounted my property. So
really?
they took negative fees in a couple of situations.
Interesting.
I didn't understand why. Didn't
ask
make
questions.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always a couple of bucks, and so that's how it works. So any property manager who you work with, or anybody who wants to go do this on their own, should be doing automated pricing. There are a lot of tools to do it. Airbnb actually has built-in tools that suck. So I generally am an advocate of Price Labs. That's who I use. I've been using them for a long time. It's kind of a set and forget situation for me, that I've created a bunch of rule sets that, hey, I can set the number of days that are required that somebody books, based on time of week, based on how far out it is. A lot of cool customizations. And then I can also set pricing on there as well, and the rules associated with pricing. Really cool way of doing it. My property management software that I use, called Guesty, also has that built in now. I haven't moved because once you have it set up, once you have all the automation set up, you just don't touch it.
Yeah.
And so that's generally what I've done. A lot of people would probably disagree with several of the decisions I've made on how I do it. I'm willing to lose a couple of bucks on a specific night. If it's like last minute and somebody wants to book it tonight and it's not booked, I'm actually willing to lose a little bit of money. I charge less than my cleaning fee for my cleaning fee. So I think I pay on most of my places like $125 or $150, depending on the size. I charge $100. One, because that looks like a better number to guests. And two, like, you know, I might have a total booking of $150. So I make nothing on that. I'm totally okay with that in a lot of cases if it would have been a vacant night. It gets somebody in the property, which has value. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to get 5-star reviews. Like at this point, it's pretty automated.
Huge value.
Yeah. And so getting an extra 5-star review, showing Airbnb,
it's worth it,
that I'm on the flywheel, I'll lean into that every night and twice on Tuesday.
Yeah, that's something more people need to talk about, actually, I think.
But I think too many people are focused on the short-term profit and not the
100%.
yeah. the long-term asset. And what a lot of people don't understand is, you've got the asset of your Airbnb. And yes, every time somebody stays there, that couch breaks down just a little bit more. That bed breaks down just a little bit more. You're going to have to be spending more on that. But the asset is actually that listing with the 4.95 star rating or whatever you've got. That is an incredible asset that not many people take into account. So that's actually one of the things I advocate a lot of the people who I work with do if they're going to be working with a property manager, that they actually own the listing and the property manager is a co-host on it. Yeah. What that allows you to do in that situation is, hey, if that property manager doesn't work for whatever reason, hey, fire them, but you get to keep the asset of the listing.
That's good.
Yeah, I remember we talked about this in a previous episode where I thought that was something everybody needs to pay attention to, and definitely something I'll pay attention to once I start adding Airbnbs to my portfolio is actually if I have somebody running it, make sure that those 5 stars stay with you, because that's, like you said, you've talked about in depth about how invaluable that is.
Oh my gosh. I want you to know, if I see a 4-star review, that crushes my soul.
Can you fix that? Like, is there a way for you to like reach out to them and like, if kind of like a BBB thing where you kind of,
not really. You can reach out to them to
they can't, but if they can't go in and change their review,
they can, but Airbnb doesn't encourage that. And you can get things removed if there's an issue that violates.
But if there was like a
Airbnb's
misunderstanding and because they left the review, maybe it's something you weren't aware about till after they left. Like, oh, well, no, that actually wasn't the case. Like,
if you file a claim against them or something, which you can do if they've damaged your property or something like that, their reviews aren't valid and they're removed. So if they're legitimately a bad guy, for instance, we actually had somebody. This was, do you remember that really cold spell in January, like where it was like negative for a couple of days straight? Yeah. So we had somebody come in, and I could see their lock records because we have smart locks on all our doors. Yeah. We don't have video cameras on that house. I could see the locks that they came in and checked in, didn't say anything to me for a long time. And then like 4 hours later started complaining that it was cold. And this was weird. It was supposed to be one person there for the night. And,
but it was -10.
Yeah, it was cold.
Like everyone was cold.
Yeah. But he's like, it's cold. And the furnace isn't working. And we're like, well, the furnace is behind a locked door. So I don't know how you know that. So we sent somebody out there. This guy had, because my cleaners had been there at like 2 o'clock or something. So everything was good at 2 o'clock. It was 70 degrees, beautiful. So, we get there. Somebody has taken the thermostat off the wall, removed the battery, thrown the breaker on the of the furnace on the electrical meter and or the electrical box, and gone down to the basement and like tampered with our furnace. This guy was clearly trying to get a free night. Like that's what was happening. Also, he had his girlfriend there or something. Like it was a weird situation. And so we had Airbnb get the guy out, and he left us a 1-star review, but we then were able to say like, hey,
this was the circumstances, not valid.
This guy tampered with our house. Also, you kicked him out. Like, please remove this review.
Yeah. Also, if you're an Airbnb owner, something to look out for.
Yeah.
It might be a new thing that people are trying to scam people out of right there.
Yeah. Yeah, have very good, fast responses and one hell of a response team, one hell of a maintenance team to get out there and identify, have your cleaners take photos when they're done with, like, it's all the kind of basic stuff that you do have to do to protect yourself, because Airbnb is a consumer first platform. Mm-hmm. And
I wonder if there's ever been an Airbnb squatter.
Oh, all the time.
All the time?
Yeah. Now, it happens more in like California.
Okay. I'm not leaving.
Yeah. Happens all the time. Thankfully, if it's under 30 days, they don't have a lease, and so the police can remove them. But yeah, in more blue states, you do have issues with squatters quite a bit. But yeah, police can remove them here in Indiana.
Okay. Yeah.
I've never had it happen, but yes, it does happen, especially again in those lower end areas.
Yeah.
If you've got a high barrier of entry, and that comes in a variety of things. One is a cost thing. Hey, you're not going to be the $40 a night type of unit. You're gonna be a nicer unit. Then that's going to be less of an issue. The second thing that you need to think about is, like, who are you going to let in your house? You don't want to just let anybody in there. You want to make sure that they've been reviewed. You want to make sure that their license is verified on Airbnb. All of those things that that you do to protect yourself, to make sure that who's coming in there is somebody who is going to leave your home in slightly worse condition, not way worse condition than when they walked in.
What would you say top 5 Airbnb spots that you would want to buy in right now?
Yeah. My gosh. All around Grand Park right now, I think would do really, really well. I've seen, like I said, my clients do wildly well. I think that could crush. You guys actually had a place out in Sheridan that I thought would be freaking amazing.
It still would be an amazing spot.
Yeah. Which is just right there.
Check on that. We should drive by there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
The whole area.
I'd want to be around Ruoff. I'm going to convert, I think, those 2 midterm rentals I've gotten Fishers, which are like 5 minutes from Ruoff, 10 minutes from Ruoff, into, I think, more short term to drive the nightly ray a little bit more.
Are those the ones you have there right now? Are they in subdivisions?
No.
Are they just in the country?
They're right across from Fishers High School.
Oh, okay.
So not really the country. It's
Not
3
the
acres.
country, but okay.
But yeah, so
Well, because sometimes, like, when like Dave Matthews comes into town, like some of those houses near Ruoff, I would remember that you could just they're renting a campsite almost, like they're camping out there on these people's lawns.
Oh,
And
yeah, we
it's
could do
like
it.
paying to do that. I'm like, well, that's an idea.
Yeah.
If you have acreage for it,
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think getting kind of on the north side of Indy, in the Keystone area. Again, you want to stay out of the subdivisions. You want to stay away from HOAs just to avoid that headache. We talk more about HOAs. They're such a pain in the butt. But
You can cuss on this podcast.
yeah, pain in the ass. God damn, I'm pissed at my HOA. They just banned rentals in my HOA altogether.
Your HOA.
From my house. Yeah, and I fought.
They
that
did the same for me, and I was mad.
Yeah, I'm pissed. Like I don't plan on leaving, but like, my gosh. Sorry. That's my rant of the day.
I feel you there.
It's un-American, but yeah, I'd want to be on the north side of Indy, kind of in that Keystone area. I think it's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Broad Ripple, the Broad Ripple area is amazing. I would love to own one there, mostly because I want to go to Brick House and get toasted, and then walk over to the Airbnb and crash for the night. Yeah, I'd say those are kind of the areas. I love my 2 in Brown County. My wife and I get away there all the time. I think we're going again for the 4th of July just to get away. And then, all right, my 6th pick, or I don't know how many I've done already so far, Louisville. I know it's only a 3-hour drive, but it's down south. It's hard to get down in Louisville. Similar to Brown County, actually. You have to have specific licensure to be able to Airbnb, but would love to have one down there for my own personal use. But then also, I think they would crush if it was near the Bourbon Trail.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's somewhere I'd like to, somewhere in Lexington or something like that as well.
Yeah.
I know me and you both love Louisville too. I didn't realize that about their Airbnb stuff.
Oh, I've tried. Trust me.
Yeah.
I've tried. But you have to buy a specific license and all that stuff. And they only have so many. That's how Brown County is. It's such a pain in the butt. Yeah, I own 125 acres down in Brown County. I can only have one Airbnb on that lot because you can only have one every 0.25 miles.
That's an episode we need to do one day, is to talk through that. Because at the extent that me and you have talked through that.
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely bananas. But yeah, I think that's a different day, a different bourbon.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you would kind of steer away from HOAs when you're doing Airbnb because they could shut you down at any moment almost. But I've stayed in Airbnbs in condo associations. Like, how do you feel about that?
I think it can work, and I think you can make money. I think that you also don't have any control. What I've learned about that, like I would have, if you would have asked me this 6 months ago, I would have said, you know what, go for it. If it's not against the rules in the HOA, go for it.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be fine. You're going to be grandfathered. What I have recently seen is the NIMBYism of HOAs, And all it takes is one bad experience and everybody will turn, or the thought of a bad experience. So for my personal HOA, we don't have a single rental in the 45 houses or so that are in our HOA. Not a single rental, because it doesn't make sense from a financial perspective.
Right.
It doesn't make sense from an Airbnb perspective either. But too expensive, not the right kind of houses. And but because one LLC bid on a house, everybody was freaking terrified.
Yes.
And they didn't win, but they bid on the house.
They just thought if they can do it there, they're going to do it again, right?
Yep, exactly. So I would say just avoid it. Like you don't want the headache, you don't want the potential risk. Or if you're going to do it, make sure you've got backup plans. Make sure that the condos are in high demand, so that you could potentially sell it if you need to.
For sure.
And or convert it to a rental if that makes sense, a long-term rental if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Is that where you see the biggest upside right now? Is probably the Airbnb side in the Indy market, or what do you think?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think you can still do well from a long-term rental perspective.
Yeah.
But you're probably going to pick a different asset class. You're going to be more in the $200,000. Like that's kind of where I'm focusing on from a long-term rental perspective.
You're probably not going to be able to burr it.
Realistically. You're not going to be able to fully pull all your money back out if you want to cash flow it, in all likelihood. You're totally right. But those are the types of tenants you want, the $200,000 to $250,000 to $300,000 house. That's the kind of tenant you want, somebody who has something to lose. It's a little bit, blue collar, not no collar type of situation. And that's who you want in those. I think you can do very, very well in the short terms if you do it right. If you actually invest, if you decide to theme it, if you do the rehab properly, if you buy in the right areas, you can do so darn well. You're going to have fewer of them, and there's going to be a whole lot more variability. So on the fat months, you save a couple extra bucks, because let me tell you, nobody wants to stay in Indy during December. Yeah, December sucks.
Yeah, it's like you do it right, and then you pick the right areas. It's not like we're on the beach somewhere where you can put it up on Airbnb and probably do fine, right? I mean, you got to be a little bit more picky here.
But I think you can do so darn well. Like, where else are you getting a 1.5 rent to value on Airbnbs?
Yeah, and I think it scares, like the price tag scares people away, right? But when you actually break down the numbers like you just did on your Alabama property, it's like, man, it's the same thing. It's just a little bit more money. You're still burring it out. You're making a better profit in the end. So it's
I'd much rather deal with a little bit of ass kissing than have to go evict somebody.
Yeah.
Or hire the right property management to do it for you.
True. Yeah, can't argue with that one. Yeah.
So something else to add into your numbers. I don't know how far we're in right now, but I mean, going off of that, I was going to say, like, all right, where do you want to go with like long-term rental stuff? I know none of us have really been doing a ton of long-term in terms of like buying and holding at the moment. It's been more flipping, wholetailing, and Airbnb. If you were to get back into like long-term stuff, where would you be looking? And we'll say where we will be looking as well.
Yeah, totally. Put me on the spot here first, man. Jeez. So there are several areas where I actually am still picking up a couple rentals. Okay. I really
tell me more, Nick.
Yeah. Can you go grab me some off market leads?
I need to sell you a house.
Orchard Avenue. We just got one Friday. If anybody needs it.
I got to analyze that one, or at least have Lizelle do it. I really like Beech Grove still. I think that there's still a ton of upside there. Rent to values are fantastic. I've got a couple that are worth anywhere from $200 to $250, and they rent out anywhere from $1,800 to $2,000. So solid rent to value ratio. Again, not the 1% rule, but they're long-term rentals. So I don't think you can expect that in today's
quality
market.
Tenant.
Yeah, very quality tenant. Again, blue collar, just good people. The kind of people who don't complain too much, and when something's wrong, you go fix it. They're happy. Move on, they stay there. So dig in that area. Again, I think I would pick some of the lower end parts of Noblesville. I think you're probably sitting closer to a 0.75% rent to value ratio if I had to guess. So again, a little bit lower. I'm not optimizing for cash flow for a lot of my stuff.
Yeah. So keep that in mind if you're listening to that.
Yeah. I am optimizing for the least headaches. That is kind of where I'm at with a solid return. So kind of the
That pay down appreciation.
yeah, get the appreciation, hopefully break even.
Well, that's the long-term game, though.
Yeah.
Is you got to be in it for appreciation.
The appreciation and the
Cash
pay
flow is
down.
great, but
Yeah.
if you're not living off the cash flow, you don't need the cash flow, then why? Like, that's my always thought was, well, why is that so important to you? If it's the long-term game,
Because everybody that listens to this, everybody who gets started in this game, Randy, is trying to leave their job. And
Correct.
they're just
I understand.
they're trying to get the number of units
Completely
with
agree.
$200 or $100 a month
Fair,
to
yeah.
equal their
completely
salary.
agree. But you're not going to be financially free overnight.
No.
It takes steps, and one of the steps is getting into the game and getting some rentals under your belt.
Yeah.
If I break even, I'm
thrilled.
okay.
Yeah.
So like my standard is, if I'm not depending on my rental income, I just want to break even every month because I know that property is going to appreciate.
Yeah.
And that's the game for me.
Well,
is-
and that's going to happen. The appreciation is going to happen at an accelerated rate in the areas that people want to live, that
Yeah.
homeowners want to live.
Yeah.
And those are going to be the areas where it's going to be hardest to cash flow.
Yeah.
So like getting back to that point, I probably want to invest in like Devington area a little bit, like kind of some nicer areas up here on the north side of Indianapolis. I don't think there's very many places I can make Carmel work from a
No.
long-term rental perspective, but
Yeah, it's tough.
but maybe some of the older parts of Westfield as well. Like there are some parts of Westfield that are still a little ghetto, that from like way back when.
Dude, let's talk about that trailer park across from Grand Park.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
Jesus.
There's one there. There's one right next to 32 where Nick was trying to buy the office we sit in now. Was supposed to be.
How many
somewhere-
times
was
have they
supposed to
been
be-
offered cash just to tear that
Was
down?
supposed to be somewhere else, like in the Carmel Westfield line right there. There's a couple trailer parks right there.
I just can't believe they're still there. I mean,
Yeah. Well, it's because they're all paid off. And
Yeah.
like hell, there's one house.
but it's right in the middle of
Honest with you,
everything.
I'd love to own it.
Yeah, there's one house right
I mean, yeah, if it's not going anywhere.
on 136 hell in Carmel. There's some old houses. Like I just think about it because I pass them on my way home every day.
Yeah.
And like there's some houses I look over. I'm like, my God.
How is that still there?
Yeah, because they're right next to it's a $1.5 million house.
Yeah.
And then there's like this dump with like 14 cars in the front. There's been so much development up here in the Hamilton County area, but then there's a lot that like people just are holding on to these things.
Yeah, they
I mean,
just-
this is what you guys target.
Yeah. That I mean.
Yeah, but
we'd
then
love
they
to,
say
but they're
give me
they're-
$3 million for
They're so
it.
stubborn. Like you, because I mean, you talk about like these properties in Westfield. There's some in Zionsville as well, like up 421 and stuff like that. I mean, it's the same thing. It's like the old.
They know what they have.
It's people who have been living there, and it's just been passed down through generations, and they're just not going anywhere. And they have, like you said, cars sitting in the front yard. It looks like, for lack of a better term, I mean, it looks like a dump. Like, and they have like a bunch of cars out there with no windows and overgrown grass.
The neighbors hate it,
They,
but they don't care.
but there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah.
I mean, so I would agree with you. I mean, if we could pick those up, I'm sure our marketing's getting to them at some point, but I'm sure we're getting the big,
Oh yeah.
So
But yeah, what other areas would you guys pick up long terms?
I would say if you're going for like the cash flow play, and I'm very big on the blue collar areas as well, like Nick said, some of my best long-term rentals were like the first ones I picked up in like the Rhodius Park West Side area, which I was so hesitant to go on to pick up because when I first moved here, that was where like everyone was like, stay away from the West Side. And well, now it's like stay away from Mars Hill, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't hear a ton of good stuff coming from the West Side in terms of long-term stuff. And I picked up a couple around Rhodius Park, and I mean, they cash flow like crazy. And every one of my tenants there's a ton of industrial plants, and for lack of a better term, blue-collar jobs right there on the West Side that all my tenants work there. Like, that's why they want to live there. They work there. I mean, I charge probably anywhere from $850 to $1,100 to $1,200 really on that side of town, and they take care of the property. I mean, they have actually some pride and ownership around there.
That's awesome.
But you have to be in a certain area. So I really like that area just because historically my stuff there has been really good. I've got stuff in Irvington that's always been very good. The tenant base there has been there for a long time. I bought.
Can I talk about Irvington real quick?
I bought most of those from Nick, so Nick can talk about that.
Yeah.
pretty
Nick
well
was
as well.
Mr. Irvington when he started.
I still love Irvington. But what you're talking about specifically, like you've got this one neighborhood that you're owning on that. I think we were doing the mowing on for them, and we would send a guy out every 2 weeks or something to clean it, and they asked us to leave because they're like, no, we have our own agreement here in this this community that we just like mow each other's lawns every week or something like that.
You'd love to hear that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
As a owner,
Say less.
Yeah.
it's like, I was trying to help you guys out, but I love the pride in ownership.
Yeah. I'm out.
Yeah.
You'll never see me again.
That's what you're looking for, right? I mean, and you say you would think it's like a lower class tenant, but then you look a little closer and it's like, man, these are blue collar people that want to keep up, and they are very nosy as well because they sit out there and they look to make sure everybody else is keeping up their stuff around them too. So those are the kind of neighborhoods I like to be in. So those two are two of my bigger ones, and I would say I agree with you on Beech Grove. I don't own anything in Beech Grove, I don't think, that I can think of at the moment, but like it's everybody I've talked to and everything I've analyzed there that I haven't actually ended up picking up has looked awesome. I don't have anything in Devington. I'd say one of our biggest investors buys in Devington pretty regularly.
That area, yeah.
That area.
It's a cool area. If you haven't been up there, there's some.
Yeah.
That was actually where I did my first flip.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A lot of people do their first flip there, man.
4631 Avalon Trail. If anybody wants to look, that thing turned out hot. I did not make any money on that.
Overdid it?
Oh yeah.
I'm very much getting. I mean, that's probably where I would want to be in the city if I'm keeping for my own. That I can think of off the top of my head, maybe around like you said, the Broad Ripple / like around Butler area, but it's hard to cash flow a lot of those places now.
Butler, you might be able to at the student rental side.
Yeah, it just depends. Like I have.
But you're still going to pay a lot. Like,
Just also, hey, anybody listening, if you're going to invest in the Butler area, north of 38th, please, for the love of God,
100%.
North of 38th.
1,000%.
So Nick and I both have.
Don't go south of 38 and say you're in the Butler area.
Nick and I both have one on 38th, 30th.
30th.
And it's 46208, and we both had trouble selling that place. Still trying to sell it.
Are you still on the market on that one?
Well, we've had action on it. Well, I've had separate action than on the market on it, and I have 2 people interested right now that I hopefully are it's gonna get done, but we'll see. Nothing around the Crown Point, the southern Crown Point of the park, for me or Nick has done very well. Nick actually ended up converting yours into, I think, a Section 8, didn't you?
Yeah, Section 8 long-term rental.
And that's been good for him, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have chosen that. It was a failed flip.
You didn't have,
and actually, real quick, what I hope a lot of people hear from that is I've had a couple failed projects.
Yeah, me too.
On all of those projects, I had backup plans. So, for instance, Alabama. I hope everybody heard. I had a backup plan that I could.
Your
short-term
intention was
rent.
to flip it and sell it.
Yes, that was my.
But you
first
always,
and
and in the
foremost.
back pocket, you said, if this doesn't work after 90 days, whatever it was, I'm going to Airbnb it.
Yep, 100%. And so 30th Street, same thing. Like, hey, really mad that this thing isn't selling. Like, it's an awesome property. We did a great job on it. Not selling, great.
Yeah.
I think it's a $1,500 rental right now. So pretty thrilled about that.
Yeah. I
Section 8
don't think a lot of people think about a backup plan.
No,
they just
I don't.
go in thinking, this is what I'm going to do, and it's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I went with the backup plan to say, like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and rent this out. And then I think we got like a month into it, and we're going to lower the price, and we would have been fine to do it. And I'm like, you know what? No. Like, I'm just going to get rid of this. I'll take the hit. I'm going to lose money on it. I know that. I'm just going to say screw it and get rid of it, wash my hands of it, and then move on to the next project. So it's going to happen. But that is one of the areas that Nick has done a good job to pivot there. I could probably still do that, but I want to wash my hands of it and be done with it. I want it off my plate.
I bet you it appraises more than what you're trying to sell.
Oh, 100%. I know it's going to. especially because there's been 3 or 4 projects right on the same street in the same block that.
Now, I'd also like to confirm, because I'll throw some egg on my face too here. This is an area, 30th Street, which again, obviously south of 38th Street, which is where we say the cutoff is. This is a house that's had some crime in it.
Yes. So this is one that I had somebody break in while it was on the market, steal the hot water heater and the fridge and the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
Well, it's one of the two.
It's they stole
Some stuff.
2 or 3 appliances, like major appliances. So.
Yep, which sucks.
Yeah.
On my 30th Street property, somebody came, and I don't know what they did. They must have filled their damn pool, because I think we had like a $1,500 water bill on that. I don't know what the hell happened, but somebody came and connected their hose to our spigot and did something. I don't know where they put that water.
Fill the pool up, honey.
Yeah. So again, south of 38th Street in that general area is so bad. I don't even drive by that area.
Like, yeah, I'm not afraid to go down there or anything like that, but it's just
You're tougher than me.
It's some
Brooks isn't afraid of anything.
It's not like that bad in terms of like I don't feel unsafe going there, but it's just like investor wise, I just haven't had success there, so it's not somewhere I'm.
You got to pick and choose in that area. You got to pick and choose. You got to pick the street. You got to pick the block. I mean, I've been in that area half my life. I feel like as many deals that I've done over there, but no, it's definitely it could be sketchy, but it could be fine.
Yeah. But yeah, those are probably where I would stay. Outside of that, I'm with Nick. I'm on definitely a higher class tenant. Staying outside the loop is where I would like to be. There are some like small little towns that are still viable in terms of like you're probably not going to get the huge appreciation, but like you're probably going to get closer to the 1% rule. You might be able to cash float a little bit, and that's all I can ask for. So that's where I would be.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard anybody say anything positive about 46218. Is that generally correct?
I mean, I can still see why people say don't hate on the 218. Overall, it gets a bad rap, but I mean, I had rentals there and they did fine.
You still have rentals there?
No.
Okay.
because I'm changing my focus, but no, I mean, overall,
You can be successful there.
you can, yeah.
So I have a duplex there. I've probably talked about it on here before.
This is Adams.
And when it's going, it's great. When it's not, it's not.
That's how the 218 treats you.
It's kind of how it is. Like
The ups are up.
but the good thing is that it is a duplex. So like the one side is always going to carry me a little bit, which is fine. When I had a squatter that I got stuck in there for like 4 months or something like that. Which was a complete headache and trashed it. But yeah, but now I got both sides rented out for like $875 or $895 a side, and I'm all into that property I bought it for $90. I'm probably all into it right now for like $130. So I mean, I can't complain about that. What?
And an eviction.
But yeah, it cash flows like crazy when you get the right tenants in there.
Dude, the rental I sold in Washington Park was like near Fall Creek, and now I see that there's a developer building like luxury apartments or condos, whatever it is, along like right behind the house that I had. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be charging a lot for that area. But anyway, for me, if I'm staying in Indy for the long-term game, kind of same with Brooks. I'm always going to look on the west side. I just think it's easier entry to barrier there for like what you can get, even if it is like a 2-bedroom rental. Ideally, I'm looking like if I'm going down west off of downtown, traveling down 16th Street, I want to stay north of it. Until I get into Speedway, that's just a totally different ball game. It's not going to work there. Prices are too high. But I would go look at like the Flackville area. I would look at Eagledale. Pick up a 2 or a small 3-bedroom in Eagledale. I think you could still cash flow there. Devington, I think we've all said that.
It's just hard to find a good deal in
Cicero?
Irvington now, probably.
I'm just trying to think Indy specific right now. Cicero, I mean, it's
I just know how much you love.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it's home.
it's home. But like you mentioned, like the lower parts of Noblesville where you might be able to pick up a good deal. I would even like there's Fishers is so big, man. There's areas in Fishers where it's just not there's more renters than homeowners.
Yeah.
And I think you could pick up some like little vinyl village houses in Fishers. And
totally.
If I want to go to like the A-class areas and charge more for rent, just make it pretty and rent it out. It'll rent all day long.
Yeah.
Long-term rentals.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. If I could buy more in Fishers, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Like that. That's such a cool area. I think I'll
Some of
end up
those
back there
neighborhoods,
one
man,
day.
some of those neighborhoods just got taken over by renters.
Yeah. Well, maybe my HOA wasn't wrong. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got. Unless you guys have anything else you want to touch on.
Oh, my glass is empty. I think that means I'm done.
That's your timer.
Yeah. So I think that's another episode of the Indy Investor Speakeasy. Brooks, where's the best place for people to get in touch with you?
You can find me on Instagram, my name. You can find me at BRBuysIndy. Shoot me an email at brooks@brbuysIndy.com.
Yep.
Any of those. If you can find me on social media, shoot me a message. I'm on there quite a bit too.
Yep. Randy at brbuysIndy.com, or you could find me on Facebook or Instagram.
Perfect. For anybody looking for construction stuff, Nick at offleashconstruction.com. Also, you can find me on like Instagram and all that. I'm probably not posting that much, but I am. My team posts at Off Leash Construction on Instagram and everything. So we'd love to chat with everybody. Thank you guys for another good episode. I think this was an interesting one.
Yeah.
We covered a lot of stuff, and
Let us know what you want to hear about too.
yeah. I think we've got a guest next week too, which should be fun.
Next week or 2 weeks from now. Probably next week too.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, have a good one, guys.
See you guys.
Cheers.